Hello and welcome back to Basketball Talk for week 4 of our NBA recap show. With a total of 48 games played this week, there's been some strong performances and lots to talk about, so let's kick things off with the 13th of November. After their loss to the Celtics, the Thunder picked up an away win in New York, winning 145 to 135. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 37 points, 8 assists and 5 rebounds. Josh Giddey had a triple-double with 24 points, 12 assists and 10 rebounds.
Some good performances.
After struggling on the road, the Timberwolves managed to edge out the Cavs, winning 129 to 124, with big contributions from Karl Anthony Towns, who had 29 points and 13 rebounds. The Grizzlies was to Washington, and the Wizards pulled out a much-needed home win to help them move 8-6. Game finishes 92 to 102 Wizards. Nuggets dominated the Bulls, winning by 23 points. Nuggets 126 to Bulls 103. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. combined for 54 points to help the Nuggets with the away win. Warriors didn't have enough to fight off the Sacramento Kings as the Kings picked up a home win, winning 122 to 115. Sabonis had an amazing game, finishing with 26 points, 22 rebounds and 8 assists.
Jesus Christ, 22 rebounds.
A big loss for the Warriors, Scott.
It is indeed. That's another one for the pile.
Away now.
I wonder what the odds are now and them going to 0-41 for away this season. That'd be quite a good one to figure out.
There's obviously struggling out in California other than Sacramento.
Oh, aye.
The Lakers got a much needed win, beating the visitor Nets 116 to 103. Anthony Davis played brilliantly, finishing with 37 points and 18 rebounds. Westbrook had a good game overall as well, as he had 14 points, 12 assists and 6 rebounds.
Yeah, a game in which LeBron didn't play, but they played really, really well, the Lakers.
Yeah,
I think if they could get a little bit more of this from Davis, I don't think he needs to be 37 and 18, but I think if we could get a little bit more from legit all-star, one of the best power forward style players in the league, he should be more valuable to the Lakers. So if he can book his ideas up and give a bit more of that, they should climb up the standings a little bit. So
finally, for our game in focus on the 13th of November, we're going to look at the Jazz and the Sixers. The Super Jazz, but not so super in this game.
Not in this game.
As they lost to the Sixers 105 to 98. Overall, the Sixers played very well. They shot brilliantly from the field at 48%. They were more efficient from the line. They were 80% as opposed to 56% from the struggling Jazz.
You leave that many points on the line, it's a bad one, isn't it? The Jazz will be looking at that game as we had a chance at this, really, if we'd have shot a bit better with our free throws. So
the Jazz outscored them in the first half, but it wasn't to be as they let it slip away in the second. Markkanen had 15 points and 10 rebounds, and Sexton also had 15 points, Scott.
Yeah, good contribution.
Joel Embiid played phenomenal. He had 59 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists and 7 blocks.
That's nearly a quadruple-double.
Caliber.
That is just ridiculous. Well played, Embiid. Played out of his mind. Well played.
It'd be good to see if he can hold it up for the rest of the season.
Health is the thing for him, isn't it? If he can stay healthy, and we both picked him, obviously, didn't we, as our MVP for the season, and he's missed a few games, but if he can stay healthy, he's not going to put up 59 and 11 every week. It's fair to say a 30-point double-double from him is on the cards, and yeah, I mean, hell of a play from him. He also got a big block as well, didn't he? With a minute 20 left, the Sixers had a 3-point lead, and he very much suckered in his opponent to go for the layup, and he obviously with his long arms that he's got, he was able to get a block. So massive win for the Sixers, and I think it helps get them back on track. So
Scott, do you want to take us away for the 14th?
Yeah, so there was 7 games played on the 14th of November. So having a quick look at the Raptors versus Pistons, it was a big win for the Raptors, 115-111. Some key standout performances. Anunoby with 19 points, 7 rebounds and 3 assists. And Banton as well also had 27 points, 4 rebounds and 4 assists to go with 3 steals. So big win for the Raptors. Also saw some good performances from Jaden Ivey on the Pistons with 21 points and 8 assists as well. The Charlotte Hornets stung the Orlando Magic 112-105. LaMelo Ball registered 17 points, 9 assists. Plumlee also had a double-double as well with 18 points and 10 rebounds. For the Orlando Magic, they've been missing Paolo Banchero for a few games now, haven't they? I'm hoping it's not in serious. I'd like to see him back out on the court. We move on to the Boston Celtics, who took on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Big win for the Celtics, 126-122. Celtics forced the Thunder into 6 more turnovers. This led to more fast break points, and the Celtics had 15 steals compared to the Thunder's 4. I think any time you're forcing a team to make more turnovers, it's just good basketball for you, isn't it, really? It gives you better opportunities. Jason Tatum had a nice double-double, 27 and 10, and Jaylen Brown with 26 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, very much stuff in the stat sheet there for him, so We take a look at the Miami Heat, who were a little bit too hot for the Phoenix Suns with a 113-112 win. This game was pretty much close throughout the entire game, really, but the big talking point for me was Jimmy Butler getting a block on a jump shot of Devin Booker towards the end to win the game for them. So it's not something you see too often, a blocked jump shot for a win. It's not something you see too often in terms of the game ending that way. Usually this leads to a foul, there's free throws. So
it's good to see some defence actually being pivotal in the game.
Exactly, yeah, nice to see. So, but yeah, brilliant play from Jimmy Butler, and again, he's showing that he's not just an offensive juggernaut for this team. He's willing to do it defensively as well. So we take a look at the Houston Rockets, who again failed to take off against the LA Clippers. It was a 122-106 victory for the Clippers. Nothing really much to write home about for the Rockets. We've got Jalen Green with 25 points, but ultimately they were just outmanned. Paul George with 22 points and Reggie Jackson as well with 17 for the LA Clippers. The Atlanta Hawks took flight and absolutely smothered the Milwaukee Bucks 121-106. I feel that you and I jinxed the Bucks. I really do. 9-0, and then since then they've just seemed to have lost nearly every other game because of us. I think we're at fault.
Probably have, because you also deemed, the Sacramento to be struggling. You also mentioned the Jazz that they were going to be at the bottom, and Sacramento are playing brilliantly, and your Sacramento hoodie is on its way for the end of the season.
So what you mean is Sacramento fans need to send me a personal card, say, Scott, thank you so much for talking so bad about us that we're now playing well. You're like,
and obviously the Super Jazz as well. So.
Yeah. If anybody wants to send me a card, you're more than welcome. I'm doing bits for all the teams.
Other than the Bucks.
Yeah, other than the Bucks, who apparently we've completely jinxed, and now they're not going to win a title. But it was a generally good game. Hunter had 24 points, 3 rebounds. Trae Young with a high performance of 21 points and 9 assists. Giannis had 27 points to go along with 8 rebounds. And Beauchamp he's obviously one of the young rookies for the Bucks. He had one of his best games of his young career with 20 points and 8 rebounds. There's been a little bit of an opening in the Bucks at the minute with a few injuries, so he really shined in that game. So yeah, a good performance from a young guy. The game in focus for the 14th of November was the Golden State Warriors against the San Antonio Spurs. As much as the Warriors haven't played well this season, this game pretty much played out how you'd expect. If you were to not even watch the game, it kind of went how you thought. Golden State Warriors completely dominated the San Antonio Spurs. They shot 53% from the field, 51% from the three-point line, and 93% from the free throw line. Those shooting splits, they're not going to happen every week, obviously, but they absolutely dominated. It was just a ridiculous game. And for the Spurs, probably that game went as you'd expect, you reckon? Spurs are not expecting much from this match.
Also, the Warriors are 6-1 at home, so although they're struggling, they are doing well at home. And they were doing well earlier on, not last week, the week before. They were playing
a lot better then.
They're doing fine at home, really, so it's something you'd expect, although they were struggling.
Bit of a concern, isn't it, that you can play so well at home, but then away it's feasibly starting to look really bad. I think at the point of this,
times in the playoffs, so.
Yeah, true. A lot of teams can struggle on the road, can't they? But it was a good game to watch. Maybe not the most best game in terms of like defending, especially with the number of points the Warriors put up. But Jordan Poole had some success early on, getting to the basket, a couple of threes. He hit a really deep 3 with 24 seconds left in the first quarter. He was pretty much by the hash mark. So yeah, it just looked like they were having a little bit of fun with him. To be honest,
he led the Warriors, didn't he? With 36, 3 steals. And he was 5 of 10 from 3.
Yeah, he was dominant. A great performance. We also saw Kuminga as well. There was a little play where he came off a screen. He was like at the top of the 3-point line. He can't come off a screen. And it was like the Spurs defenders didn't know who to switch. So for a split second and a half, the lane was just wide open. So you could see, instead of him thinking, let's take this long contested jump shot, he was like, I'm just going to get straight to the paint. So he rolled straight in there, got a good layup. It was an easy one for him. And we also saw Steph doing Steph Curry things, hitting deep threes with 30 seconds to go in the second quarter. And by the time we rolled round to the third quarter and kind of towards the end of it, it was a 27-point lead. There wasn't really anything left, really. So the Warriors steamrolled them.
Over after the 3 quarters, wasn't it?
Yeah, they steamrolled them.
Every quarter. They outscored the Spurs 33-26 in the first, 28-19 in the second, and then 38-23 in the third. So you wouldn't expect a comeback in the fourth.
No,
pretty much done at that point. So.
Felt like the Warriors could have put Steve Kerr out there on the floor and probably still saw that game out, even with how old he is. But yeah, and a really good game, and there was a nice little bounce pass as well from Draymond Green where he set this screen, but at the same time bounced it to Steph Curry for a bounce pass, and it was just brilliant. I haven't seen something like that where it was like a bounce pass and a screen at the same time. So just really impressive. So yeah, great game to watch.
So for the 15th of November, we'll start with the game in focus, which is the Grizzlies and the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
The Pelicans won by 11, Scott.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked that really. Would have thought the Grizzlies could have got the win, but they are struggling away. They're 4-5 now
on
the road.
Yeah. They were missing Desi Bain for this one, worth noting, so without arguably the second best player as well.
Yeah, he's played phenomenal this season. Pelicans shot 47% from the field. They also moved the ball better, leading the assists 31-16, Scott.
Yeah, they did. It was a game in which obviously passing was key, and I think you see this with teams where if you move the ball better looks, and it just all round's a little bit easier, isn't it? So the Grizzlies did get a little bit of joy in the paint, 54-44, but yeah, I think any time you're shooting the volume of threes that the Pelicans were, you're always going to give yourself a chance at the game, aren't you?
So for the Grizzlies, Ja Morant had 36 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists and 3 steals, playing phenomenal, MVP caliber this season.
Can't argue with that.
Dylan Brooks had 19 points. Jaren Jackson played his first game this season. He had 7 points, 6 rebounds and 5 blocks. For the Pelicans, McCollum had 30 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds. He played phenomenal.
Yeah. Playing really good basketball at the moment. I think for Jaren Jackson Jr., I think he's obviously going to be really valuable for the Grizzlies because they've been playing well so far. They've been doing it without arguably the best defender, and that's evidence with a very small sample size, but 5 blocks in your first game. You can't argue with it. So I think they'll be made up to have him back just as a little bit of defensive presence. And if he's your third option, he's probably still going to get you around about 14 to 16 points a game. So all in all, they're probably really happy to have them back, even though it wasn't the best game for them.
Yeah, to move on to the Clippers and Mavs. The Mavs secured a home win against the Clippers, Scott, although they got outscored by 18 in the second half. Mavs win 103-101.
Have it.
Luka Doncic picked up 35 points, 5 assists, and 11 rebounds. Mavs are now 7-1 at home.
I'll take that for now. I'll take that.
Knicks beat the Super Jazz by 7, which is a bit of a shock.
Oh no!
They won 118-111. Bronson led the Knicks with 25 points, 8 assists and 3 rebounds. Probably one of his best performances he's had.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's starting to get
I feel like every week when we're looking at the Knicks, or at least I am looking at him to see is he pushing on to the salary that he's being paid essentially. So yeah, probably a bit too much under the microscope, but hopefully he pushes on and gets a good run of form to continue.
I think that happens though when you get paid that big money, doesn't it? It does, because ultimately you're being paid like you're a superstar and like you're borderline an all-star in this case. So I think it's understandable that maybe people are looking at him in a bit of a different light. So, but yeah, in terms of that game, you can't knock that at all.
The Blazers beat the struggling Spurs by 7, winning 117-110. Jakob Poeltl had a good game for the Spurs with 31 points, 5 assists and 14 rebounds, but it wasn't to be enough as Grant, Lillard and Simmons combined for 74 points as they secured the home win for the Blazers. The Blazers now move to 10-4. The Kings bullied the Nets off the court as they won by 32 points.
Oh God.
This game finished 121-153 to the Kings.
Jesus Christ.
The Kings outshot the Nets 10.2% from the field goal percentage and shot 48.8% from the 3-point range.
That's ridiculous. I feel sorry for the Nets. No one should be losing to the Kings, but at the end of the day, they've played well. You don't put up 153 points by accident, do you?
No, and all the damage was actually done through the first 3 because the Nets actually outscored the Kings in the fourth quarter. Pretty much after those first 3 quarters, they had that massive lead and it was just holding on to it essentially.
As we said with the Golden State game earlier, at that point when you've got such a big lead after 3 quarters, the Kings are probably subbing in, bench warmers at that point and giving some of the starters a little bit of a rest. You're probably up by quite a lot and not looking at the Nets as coming back and doing anything to you. So yeah, as much as I've been joking about with the Kings, you've got to give them credit for how they've played there. So now we're moving over to the 16th of November. There was a total of 10 games played. To start us off, the Indiana Pacers got a win over the Charlotte Hornets, 125-113. Tyrese Halliburton had 22 points, 11 assists, 3 steals, and Miles Turner also had a big game with 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks. Halliburton, for me, I feel there's 3 guards that are really pushing on to be an all-star for the first time. Halliburton's one of them. Desmond Bain is the second one, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander definitely should be an all-star this year. So I'm not sure whether all 3 are going to have a spot on the all-star team because there'll be other guards that are also getting voted in.
No, I'd probably go Desi Baines at the moment.
Over Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Halliburton?
Yeah, I probably would at this moment. Yeah, I think he's really shining in Memphis.
I think with any of them 3, they've equally got a right to say, I should be a new all-star this year, but it's going to be an interesting one as to who gets it. The Minnesota Timberwolves pummeled the Magic, 126-108. We saw Ant Edwards go for 35 points, 8 rebounds and 6 assists, and Cat also had 30 points, 5 rebounds and 5 assists, and they pretty much just bullied the Orlando Magic. We saw the Oklahoma City Thunder sneak a win against the Washington Wizards 121-120. Both teams shot over 50% from the field and 3-point range. This was a game where it felt like all the sliders were turned up a notch, like it is on NBA 2K, where nobody's missing a single shot. But Gilgeous-Alexander hit a game winner with 1 second to go. A massive performance from him again. He's really stepping it up this season. 42 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds alone in this game. For me, I know we just briefly touched on those 3 guards. I think he's probably, for me, I'd say he's probably the one who I think is going to get the nod personally. We now move over to the Boston Celtics taking on the Atlanta Hawks. It was a 126-101 victory for the Boston Celtics. It continues their winning streak. They're looking strong at the moment, and even though this was a game in which Tatum didn't play to his MVP level, he only had 19 points. Yeah, he only had 19 points and 8 assists and 7 rebounds. Sam Hauser, 15 points, 5 or 6 on his threes. That was brilliant. And Jaylen Brown as well, stepping up with 22 big points. So your Boston Celtics are looking pretty good at the moment.
They are, yeah, and it's just good to get them consistent wins. Obviously, it'll position you better in the table to get a better team in the playoffs to play. So yeah, that's all you can expect from the Celtics, really. Obviously, they're not really been disrupted with a new coach or anything else like that, or the whole thing around Jaylen Brown being traded. So yeah, it's a good thing to see.
No, it's good.
Just need to be consistent now, really. Just hold on to that, really, level of consistency.
The Toronto Raptors got a win over the Miami Heat, 112-104, and the Milwaukee Bucks were able to get back to winning ways over the Cleveland Cavaliers, 113-98. For the Bucks, we saw a big performance from Lopez with 29 points and 5 rebounds. Giannis had 16 points, 12 rebounds and 8 assists, but he missed 7 free throws. I think that's, as much as obviously people like to rag on Giannis for his poor performance when it comes to shooting, I think that's something that he's going to look back on and feel like I need to do better with that, really. The New Orleans Pelicans were able to beat the Chicago Bulls 124-110. We also saw the New York Knicks continue with their winning ways. They beat the Denver Nuggets 106-103. I believe, off the top of my head, I think Jokic missed this game because he may have been in COVID protocols. So, yeah, obviously the Nuggets were a little bit underhanded and the Knicks were able to capitalise. Big performance from Julius Randle. 34 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Again with Jalen Brunson, 21 points, 7 assists and 5 rebounds, which is brilliant to see. We also saw the Phoenix Suns beat the Golden State Warriors. At this point, it's not really a surprise. The Golden State Warriors are terrible on the road, so another road loss for them. Big performance from Cameron Payne, filling in for CP3. He had 29 points and 7 assists. And Devin Booker also had 27 points to go with 9 assists as well. So, big
Warriors
performance.
Did shoot 100% from the free throw line, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It just wasn't to be. This is where I think Devin Booker hit a 3 and he turned around and he's like gloating in Clay's face, I think.
Could very well be.
One, yeah.
If you're the Warriors, anytime you get 50 points from a player, you're thinking, we should be winning this game. So Steph Curry has dropped 50 to go with 9 rebounds and 6 assists, and he's walking off the court with another loss, so he's probably not feeling too happy about this one. For the game and focus for this particular day, we took a look at the Houston Rockets taking on the Dallas Mavericks. I really wish I hadn't sat down and watched this game because we played crap and it's hard to sit there and acknowledge that we lost to the Houston Rockets, the worst team in the NBA, but we were terrible essentially. Rockets shot 45% from the field, Mavs shot 30%, no Luka Doncic, and it pretty much showed. My biggest concern, no Luka, we play crap.
And you're at home as well.
I know. It's not nice at all.
They're
not nice
2-9 on the road. They would have been 1-9 if you could have won.
I know, if we could have just actually done something. But this has been my concern all season with the Mavericks.
You were 7-1 at home before you lost.
And now we're 7-2, so yeah, can't argue with it. But it just, when Luka's not playing, I do fear that this team isn't constructed well to play without him. So when he doesn't have a good game, or in this case when he misses the game, it feels like it's hard for people to step up. So yeah, not a good thing to see. The Rockets had 19 blocks in this game. The Mavericks had 2. That's ridiculous. We couldn't get any shots going, and then when we finally did, people were just coming out of nowhere to block it. So the Rockets got off to an early 13-6 lead, had some success in getting to the basket. The Mavs did cut the lead down to close the quarter out, but ultimately it was just a game in which it disjointed for the Mavericks. We let the Rockets go on a 15-0 run in the second quarter. They hit quite a few threes, and the Rockets led the game 57-51 at the break. The fourth quarter, there was an alley-oop dunk from Christian Wood that gave the Mavs an 83-81 lead. So at this point, it's looking a little bit more promising. But after this, the Rockets pretty much took control. And after that, they hit a few threes, and it was pretty much the game was done then at that point. So just, if you're the Mavericks, this is not a type of game you want to lose. You don't want to lose to the bottom of the league when you're trying to contend.
No, if you're a Houston Rockets fan, it's phenomenal because, it's 33% of your wins is coming that line.
Yeah, pretty much.
So brilliant for them. Poor for the Mavs. I don't expect it to really affect the Mavs too much.
Not really.
Probably wasn't the best game to watch, really, because Houston aren't the best to watch at the minute. It's more the Mavs underperformed.
Yeah.
Opposed Rockets playing well.
It just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. I always think when you're watching these types of games, there's certain teams where you're like, we need to win that one. It should be a win. And when you go and drop it the way we have, it's just incredibly frustrating.
So for the 17th of November, we've got 3 games. We'll start it off with the LA Clippers. They beat the visiting Pistons by 5 as the game finishes 91-96 to the Clippers. The Clippers shot 36.7 from 3. The Pistons are really struggling now as they're 0-8 on the road and they're 3-13 overall. Similar to old Houston.
Yeah, this is a team that's not expected to win many games, are they?
But one team who is expecting to win is the Sacramento Kings.
Oh
no! The Kings pick up a convincing home win against the Spurs, 130-112. They're now 5-3 at home and looks to be playing very well under Mike Brown.
I don't even want to acknowledge that they're playing well, but at this point, if I don't, I'm just hating on them, aren't I? So all I'll say is, well done, Sacramento. I'm really happy for you. And as it says on your Twitter account, light the beam.
We set boundaries, so depending on how many wins they get is like basically what you buy in terms of Sacramento gear. So if they finish above 50 games, you get a full Sacramento tracksuit.
Oh, I don't know.
And a backpack.
And a headband. Yeah, I don't really want to take that. At the minute, when I seem to make bets, they seem to go pear-shaped, so I don't really want to do that, to be honest. But yeah, I suppose if they do have a good season,
we'll figure it out.
You
can have some Sacramento stuff at the end of the year.
Also, when I was seeing something about the phrase that they use when they win, they call it light the beam. I had this thing in my head. You know the scene in Austin Powers where Dr. Evil's like, are those sharks with freaking laser beams?
I was more thinking of Batman, Sacramento Batman.
There is that as well, but I was thinking, are the owners going like, is that a win for the Kings? Every win deserves a celebration with the laser beam. That's what I was thinking when I was reading about this laser beam. So, well played, Sacramento. You're on a winning streak. I'm not happy about it, but I'm sure your fans are, so well done.
So for the game in focus this week, we're going to look at the Nets and Blazers. The game finished 109-107 to the Nets.
Yeah.
Nets shot 50% from the field. They dominated in terms of rebounds, 47-39. Scott, what's your take on the game?
It was a really good game, super close all the way through. The Nets had a little bit more success in the paint as well. They had 50 points to 42. Royce O'Neal, not only with the big play, but his first career triple-double, 11 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds. I know that with this team, you will always focus on Durant, Irving and Simmons, but it must be quite a big thing to get your first triple-double when it's not something that happens every day for players. I reckon he's probably really happy with that. Another
player who played well during this game was Ben Simmons, as he had 15 points, 13 rebounds and 7 assists. It's the best performance of his Nets career. I don't expect there to be many more of them, but we'll see.
I'd love him to play a little bit more like this. He looks like he's actually tried to do something with the ball this time.
He also fouled out, didn't he, as well?
I can't remember.
I think he did. Yeah, because this is when Kevin Durant come out praising him, but only days after slating the rest of the team.
They had a little bit of a go at the team.
It's being nice to Ben on the back of all those backhanded comments, basically.
Seems to be a specialist of some players, doesn't it? This game also notable for Royce O'Neal, the tip-in layup with 0.7 seconds left to seal the game. So not only did he get triple-double, he also got the game winner. So well played, great performance from Royce O'Neal overall. Picking up on the 18th of November, it was a busy day in the NBA with 11 total games. We saw an overtime win for the Washington Wizards over the Miami Heat. Bradley Beal with a really good game of 27 points, 8 assists, and Porzingis also had a big double-double, 20 points and 17 rebounds. We saw the Cleveland Cavaliers get back to winning ways by beating the Charlotte Hornets 132-122. This was a game in which Darius Garland went 41 points, 6 assists and 5 steals, and Mitchell also dropped 34. So that backcourt is looking brilliant at the moment, isn't it? Even though it was a new trade and it's acclimatizing to have another ball-dominant guard, it's looking really good in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's knitting really well out in Cleveland, Scott. The Cavs shot 53% from the field compared to the Hornets 40%. Anytime that happens as well, you probably expect, the team with a better percentage to win.
Yeah, most of the times you're going to be able to do something where you're shooting more efficiently and getting better looks. So comfortable win for the Cavs in the end. Moving on to the game between Philadelphia and Milwaukee. This game will probably be better remembered for the post-match stuff. I'm not sure if you've seen the clip of Montrezl Harrell and Giannis Antetokounmpo, no? So Giannis missed 11 free throws in this game. They go on to lose the game. After the game, obviously they're playing in Philadelphia. Giannis is trying to practice his free throws. And there are crew, if you will, kind of like, the arena staff. They've got a ladder up by the rim. I don't know whether they're fixing something. And Giannis is saying, I want to carry on shooting my free throws. And they're trying to explain that he can't. So he pushed the ladder, which fell on the floor, made a loud noise and things like that. And obviously, a lot of people have kind of clipped it and put it up on Twitter and things like that. You're not seeing that now?
No,
It was on. I was seeing it the other day. And Montrezl Harrell. So Giannis goes on to hit a free throw. Montrezl grabs the ball, tucks it under his arm, and he's shouting about this isn't Milwaukee. Basically, get off the court and things like that. So it was a good game, but I think the post-match stuff is probably where it's going to be more notable for it, unfortunately. But despite all of the post-game shenanigans, it was actually still quite a good game. Giannis poured up 25 points along with 14 rebounds and 4 assists, and we saw Joel Embiid continue his MVP form, hit 32 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 blocks. So still a really great game to go and watch. The Pacers picked up a win against the Houston Rockets. Not really a surprise because Houston aren't playing particularly well, but for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton with 19 points, 8 assists, and Miles Turner again continues to play really well with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 blocks. The Memphis Grizzlies were able to sneak a win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 121-110. This was a game in which Jalen Williams had one of his better games as a rookie with 17 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds and 2 steals. He's seen a little bit of an uptick in his minutes recently, so he's been playing quite well for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Mavericks were able to actually get a win against the Denver Nuggets. Again, it was a Jokic-less Nuggets team, so read into that as you will. Luka Doncic had his usual triple-double as is becoming the norm for him now of 33, 12 and 11. And we also had some fantastic production off the bench with Christian Wood getting 28 points and 8 rebounds. Boston Celtics continued to steamroll through the rest of the NBA with a convincing 117-109 win over the Pelicans. We've spoken about, haven't we, about the Celtics living and dying by the three, but in this game, 40% from three, 7 more threes than the Pelicans. Do you think this can be sustained for a full season, this level of expert three-point shooting we're seeing from them?
I'd like to hope so, because they hit the stride, obviously, after the All-Star break last season.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hope so,
yeah.
But that was always the question. It's difficult for any team to hold...
such a high shooting percentage. Yeah.
Obviously from 3-point range for the full season, you'd probly pick someone like Golden State to do it.
Historically, you definitely expect them. I think Clay's having a bit of a struggling year, but at the minute, the Celtics they shoot so many threes, but they all seem to be going in. So if it's working, why would you change it? We saw the Utah Jazz take on the Phoenix Suns. I've just inappropriately called them the Utah Jazz. Everybody knows they're the Super Jazz. It was a really good game, and Larry Markkinen with the turnaround jumper with 37 seconds left gives the Utah Jazz a 1-point win over the Phoenix Suns. For anybody who's not been watching, spoiler alert, the Super Jazz are playing fantastic basketball and they're shocking everybody at the moment, so it's definitely worth a watch if you get a chance to take in some of their games. The Golden State Warriors were able to get back to some winning ways by beating the Knicks 111-101. Steph Curry with his usual 24 and 10 along with 6 rebounds and 2 steals. We also saw a relatively good performance from Julius Randle with 20 points and 7 rebounds as well. But this is a game, we're talking about 3-point shooting. The Warriors, again, hit 9 more threes than the Knicks. At the minute, if you're shooting that much better from the 3-point line, you're going to give yourself a chance to win the game, aren't you? And we move over to the LA Lakers, where they hosted the Detroit Pistons. This was a comfortable 128-121 win. The Lakers shot really well from the field, 55%, and they dominated in the paint with 66 to 50 points in the paint. Anthony Davis with, again, another big game, 38 points, 16 rebounds, 4 blocks. Westbrook with a double-double off the bench. I might be wrong in this, but I think Russell Westbrook is the highest, is the highest player at the moment with the number of double-digit assist games off the bench.
Really?
I believe he is. Since he's been moved to the bench, he's really, really playing well, and
maybe he's just accepting his role. And
yeah.
He obviously doesn't want to be in LA. That's not a criticism of him. Obviously, given the reception he's got and everything else, you can't really expect him to want to be there. But if he's accepting his role, he can't be blamed for all the wrongdoing if he's just doing his contribution.
No.
If he's been moved to the bench, then he's expected to contribute, like a 6-man of sorts.
Yeah.
And if he's doing that
really well,
then
his numbers off the bench are brilliant. His shooting stats again have gone through the roof, and I suppose it makes sense, doesn't it? If he's coming off the bench and playing against other bench players, likelihood is, it's the quality of the defending's probably not as good at times, but when he's off the bench, he is the focal point. You can play a little bit more rust ball, have the ball in his hands more, and he's not just a spot-up shooter. So yeah, he's doing really well. The game in focus for this particular day, we're taking a look at the Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls. It turned out to be a very, very close game. The Orlando Magic get a 1-point victory, 108-107. We've kind of, for the theme for this day, I think, is 3-point shooting, isn't it? Is that the teams that have shot the ball well from 3, they pretty much won all the games. And this was a game in which the Magic shot 42% from 3, but connected on 7 more threes.
They did, but they also nearly gave it away in the second half. They had a commanding lead to end the first half. And they were outscored in both the second
they
quarter.
very much allowed the
scored
Bulls to
21 in both the third and the fourth quarter, as opposed to the Bulls 27 and 28, but still won it by one. That shows that they had a commanded lead in the first half for that to occur.
They allowed the Bulls to get into it. So you're right, in terms of the first quarter, it was pretty much close throughout, but the final 3 minutes, the Magic outscored them 18-8 to build that lead, and they pretty much kept on top of that throughout the second quarter as well. Ultimately, in the third quarter, this is where the Bulls were a little bit better defensively. They made more of an effort to get to the paint. They got better looks at the basket. They finished the quarter with a couple of back-to-back mid-range jump shots from DeRozan and an 18-7 run. So you're right, in the second half, we see the Bulls really kind of clamp down a little bit. They start to play better. Javonte Green had a good steal and run out dunk and things, and it was starting to look like a really good game and just a fun one to watch, especially if you're not a fan of either team and you're just looking for a close match. So it was tied at 92-all, but ultimately Suggs hit a go-ahead three with 4 seconds left to win it for the Magic. It was a really good game to see. You could see the frustration on the Bulls players' face as well towards the end. They'd worked so hard to get back into this in the second half. They finally tie it up. They take the lead, that type of thing, and then towards the end they just allow the Magic to get that shot off. But yeah, 3-point shooting, very much the theme for that day.
So to finish for the 19th of November, we've got 5 games in total. The Magic ran out in Orlando as they couldn't get an away win at Indiana. They now fall to 1-7 on the road. The game finishes 114 to 113 to the Pacers. Sixers couldn't get the home win against Minnesota. The game finishes 112-109 to the Timberwolves. Embiid had 32 points, 6 assists and 9 rebounds. He also picked that ankle injury up last night, so it'll be interesting to see how, obviously, if that's serious or he can play through it, see when he's back, see if he can maintain some more wins.
We talked earlier, didn't we? Health. It's the word that you associate most with Embiid. As if he can stay fit, he can put up great numbers and lead a team, but small injuries and at times it feels like he can't stay healthy.
The Super Jazz win again.
Yes.
They win 118-113. Both Markkanen and Clarkson combined for 51 points.
Can't argue with the Utah Jazz. It's an accidental super team. They're going to win the title, everybody. 2023 champions. I'm calling it now. That inadvertently means they're going to lose every game now for the rest of the season.
Most likely,
them. Yeah. Sorry, Utah.
The Clippers get a strong home win when hosting San Antonio. The game finishes 119-97. John Wall played for 24 minutes off the bench and managed to get 15 assists. That's phenomenal.
I'd love to know when the last time that happened. Can you think of anyone who's come off the bench and got 15 assists?
There'll be someone.
There'll definitely be someone who has. It's not that rare of a thing, but I just can't remember the last time.
No, I can't remember the last time either. But
well played, John Wall. Doing exactly what they want.
Get a bit more points contribution. It'd be good to see him maybe start as well. I don't know. It depends if his body can hold up and how he fits in with everyone as well, doesn't it? But
he had missed a few seasons, hadn't he? I think he's going to have to get himself maybe more in game shape. But I mean, 15 assists off the bench, that's brilliant.
So for the final game in focus, we've got the Raptors and Hawks, and it was a close run. Scott, the Hawks beat them by 2 to secure the home win.
It was indeed.
It was 124 to 122 for the Hawks. Hawks shot 50% from the field. AJ Griffin secured the win off an alley-oop from Young in overtime.
It's not too often that you get to see an alley-oop game winner. It doesn't seem to happen. It always seems to be more of a jump shot, doesn't it? Or like a layup, that type of thing. But obviously there was a play where pretty much all of the Raptors players are down the other end of the court. Trae Young gets it, spots that AJ Griffin's open. He's got no one near him. He just tosses the alley-oop and he throws it down. So, yeah, not often you see that for a game winner.
The Hawks had brilliant contributions. Trae Young had 33 points, 12 assists. Capella had 18 and 14. Phenomenal. He also had 3 blocks. Murray had 17 and 7 and 4 rebounds with 2 steals. They're all gelling really well, I feel, in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Holding that together, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been a little bit of a surprise for me because I was a bit unsure whether Trae Young would play too well with another ball-dominant point guard, but they're working well together. You can't fault them at all at the moment, and the record, it speaks for itself in the early days. Everybody's better than Dallas, mate, so at the moment, I'm not too. If that's going to be the measuring stick for success, it's not too hard at the moment. So, but the Raptors as well, to just give them a little bit of praise as well. They played really well. Anunoby with 27 points and 5 assists. You also saw Scotty Barnes 28 points and 11 rebounds, looking like he's starting to make that next leap now as a second-year player. So playing very well.
So to start the weekly form tables, we'll kick it off with the East. Atlanta had 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win this week. Pretty standard week for them. Said they're playing well. Boston and Indiana done the best this week as they both had 3 wins. Worst team of the week, Scott, were the Pistons, which is not a shock. They had 3 losses on the bounce. Chicago Bulls joined them in that club as well. Yeah, I was shocked to see the Chicago Bulls lose 3 on the bounce this week.
It seems like a little bit of the magic's gone from last season, doesn't it? I know they played really, really well and they didn't really lose any particular players, but for whatever reason this year it's not quite clicking the same. I know
it's difficult to maintain it over multiple seasons. You can have one good season, can't
it
you?
is, and I know Lonzo Ball's obviously been missing. He's going to be the usual point guard, isn't he, and things like that, and I understand he's not played yet, but I don't think an 0-3 week was on the agenda for them. So if you're a Bulls fan at the moment, it's probably not what you want to be seeing, is it, unfortunately?
To finish, we've also got the Milwaukee Bucks, who had 2 losses out of the 3. Not a strong week for them since we cursed them.
Yeah, that's our fault. Sorry about that, Milwaukee. And Giannis, you probably need to practice your free throws, mate. But
Miami Heat also joined that club as well.
Yeah. A bit of a struggling week for some clubs at the moment. I think it's still early enough in the season where it's not telling the full story, but you don't want to let this become a bit of a trend where you're winning and losing and winning and losing. You don't want to get into that habit where it's kind of back and forth. You want to get some wins together, don't you? So if we take a look now at the Western Conference weekly form, so the teams here that stand out really, you've got the Sacramento Kings, can't believe I'm saying this, they won all 3 games this week, along with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So,
and the Clippers also had 3 wins as well. They didn't go unbeaten, but they had 3 wins as well.
Yeah, 3 out of 4, you can't argue with that. The LA Lakers, 2-0 this week. Who would have thought that? I wouldn't have.
San Antonio Spurs have dropped to the bottom with 4 losses.
Yeah, kind of as we expected with them, really. And even the Super Jazz, they've gone 2-2 this week, but they still find themselves in really good standings. So overall,
based off what we predicted, they're doing phenomenal. So they're still playing really well. It's just not a great week like they've had previous weeks.
Yeah,
you said Sacramento Kings are playing phenomenal under Mike Brown. Honestly, as much as you joke about it, they seem to be playing well as a team and just clicking well.
As much as I have my fun with Sacramento and stuff, a lot of respect for how they're playing. Mike Brown, I think, wasn't there an interview where he said, "I've not come here."
He's come here to play. He's come here to coach a playoff team.
That was it. Yeah. And fair play to him. He's sticking to his guns. They're playing well. Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray. They're looking like they're playing very well together. And Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter. They've got a nice little group down there. So well played, well deserved. And you don't win 3 games on the bounce by accident, quite simply. So fair play to them.
One that does shock me this week, based off how we were speaking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, is to win 3 on the row is just good for them because they look to be struggling.
They were indeed. They dropped a few games consecutively, haven't they? And they've bounced back this week. They've won 3 games. So again, trending in the right direction for them. I think because of the trade. So if you look at how Mitchell's meshed well in Cleveland and they're playing great basketball, and the Timberwolves have got Rudy Gobert and it didn't work out straight away, it's really easy to look at it and go like, oh, that was a bad trade, you give up all these picks, that type of stuff. We're still early in the season, but credit where credit's due, they've played well this week.
So moving forward each week now, as we've had around 20 games played, we're going to review that in terms of how it translates to the standings now for each conference. So on screen now you've got your East and West Conference. Let's look at the biggest winners and losers. Let's start with the bottom, Detroit Pistons and Houston Rockets. If there was a relegation battle, they're definitely in it and they should be out of the league.
Yeah, they would definitely be in it. And both of them teams, in our early predictions, we kind of saw both of them as teams that were tanking. So nothing too surprising with that.
Yeah, and I mentioned this before when we were talking about the Jazz. It's not that we expected Jazz to win anything.
No.
I like how the Jazz are playing because they're actually going out to play a game and they're trying to win. My problem with Houston last year was just that they were purely tanking, and it looks to be the same again this year. I have a problem when you've got fans coming into the arena. It's going to be a loss to the guys.
Yeah.
At least the Utah Jazz are trying, because it'd be very easy for them to just sit back and let's try and get a high draft pick as well.
Yeah.
We know lots of teams could try and tank because everyone's mentioned the aspirations to get Big Vic.
Yeah. A lot of teams want him, but Utah, I think they're doing really good stuff at the moment. A lot of people have said they're only good because it's the early part of the season, all this type of thing. But ultimately, they've won 12 of their 18 games. So whether you want to say they're beating teams they should be beating, or they're just getting lucky, you don't get lucky 12 out of 18 times. At this point, you're playing good basketball. So the top of the West, no one would have predicted it, and fair play to them. They're a fun team to watch.
Shows how close things are, because obviously Sacramento are 8th with 8 wins and 6 losses, and Dallas are 5th, and there's only 1 game played difference, 1 win there. So
we're around about 20% into the season now, aren't we? Everybody's played like 14 plus games, so we're kind of approaching that 20% mark of the season. So it will be close pretty much across the board, but at the end of the day, certain teams are playing really well. And just looking at the East as well, a team that sticks out for me, the Indiana Pacers. No one was expecting these guys to be playing this well this early.
No, they're playing brilliantly. I started well. They seem to be meshing as a team very well. Charlotte Hornets were exactly where I expected, near the bottom.
Yeah.
Orlando Magic, where we expected as well. Miami Heat's a big shock to be 11th. You didn't expect to see them down there.
No,
neither would you. But Golden State actually across, so both are sat in 11th place. Brooklyn Nets. I said, like, they keep favoriting them if they're healthy and they can mesh together. They're the odds-on favourite in Vegas, yada, yada, yada.
It's all big ifs, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never bought into it because I think it's the most temperamental team in the league, and I think it still proves to be.
It is, yeah, and I think at the moment they've seen a little bit of an uptick with Jacques Vaughn. I mean, we covered that last week as well about how they were playing a little bit better, they were looking better defensively, that type of stuff. So we're going to need to see a little bit more, I think, before people are going to start looking at Brooklyn as a legit threat, because these last 3 years really haven't panned out as they really wanted, have they?
So out of the top half of the table for each, say your top five,
yep,
which team has surprised you most from each conference?
Easily, it's the Indiana Pacers in the East and it's the Utah Jazz in the West. Neither of those was I thinking would be top 12. And
no, I'd agree with the Jazz, but another notable one for me would be Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think the Cavs would have been fourth.
No, I agree. Expect that.
But it's nice to see the Cavs doing well.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to see some changes in the table.
Oh, I totally agree.
Not to say it'll be maintained, but...
Oh, yeah, I mean, at the end of the season, we could be looking at... the Utah Jazz, in theory, could go on to win...
Sacramento Kings go to lose another 70 games.
If they do that, then I'll be proven right, and I'll be absolutely fine with that. But, yeah, I think it's just... it's nice to see other teams playing well. It's nice to see a little bit of variance and it not just being, as top-heavy as it's been. But, yeah, so far, it's been a fun season to watch, and a few curveballs, a few surprises for us. So this is the part where we're going to have a little bit of a look at some news around the league, and this week in particular it felt like there's been a little bit of an uptick in regards to trades and possible trade rumours and things like that. There's been a few players who have been touted. Probably the most notable one was Jay Crowder at the Phoenix Suns. So if you remember early on in the season, when the Suns insinuated you're going to be coming off the bench, we're going to be starting Cam Johnson ahead of you, Jay Crowder didn't seem too happy with it, and he said, right, I'm not playing for you. So he hasn't actually played a single game for Phoenix. And I think it was Wednesday night just gone, there was a report saying pre-game that it was looking like he'd been dealt. They didn't release who it was going to, but he's a player, a 3-and-D wing. Could you see him staying at the Suns? I think he really doesn't want to be there. So
no, not that attitude. Well, you know what? The only team that puts up with them sort of attitudes is the Brooklyn Nets. So I think the Suns will probably ship him out soon. They'll probably try and find a good destination for him if they can. If he's willing to work with them, obviously to let them try and find a good deal. Find a good deal that works for them in terms of assets as well. He'll probably go to a team that fits him. Another one for Phoenix, although it's not on our list. I wouldn't be shocked if Ayton goes by halfway through the season.
Yeah, I think it's January 15th when he's eligible, isn't it? So they might need to keep an eye out with that one. I think for the Jay Crowder situation specifically, though, because he's not playing games and because it's known he doesn't want to be at the Suns, for every day that passes, his value, in terms of what the Suns will get back for him, teams know they don't have to give anything up because he doesn't want to be there. So it's a little bit of an awkward one for Phoenix, that one. I think they probably want to move on from him, but maybe what they're wanting to get back from him, they're not going to get it because a team knows he doesn't want to be there. So
yeah, there's a chance he just let his contract run down if this is his last season as well.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if you're trading for him as a team and you know he's going to be due an extension, and he doesn't want to be there, you might trade away some assets for what's a rental, basically. You might get, 6.5 months of him, and that's about it, really. I think some teams that could use him, though, as a 3-and-D wing, could easily see him going back to Miami. He was, he had a really good run with them. I could see maybe like a Milwaukee Bucks picking him up as like another 3-and-D player they need. So it's just...
Miami's not a place where you think they accept bad attitudes and stuff as well. Your role is this, and you do this because you're told.
My train of thought was he's been there before, he knows the culture, and he's been successful. So
he's 32, so you'd think he wants to just be on a good team with his best chance of winning now instead of kicking up a fuss. And really, Phoenix was that destination.
It was, but he's not taken. He's not taken being told you're going to be more of an off the bench guy as opposed to a starter. So
another trade rumours around Miles Turner. There's been multiple interest from the Lakers in the past. I think he come out, was it last week, basically implying that he wants the Lakers to trade for him again.
Something like, I wish the Lakers would revisit that trade or something.
That was the
exact quote, but yeah.
And also the Clippers are meant to be interested as well. So I think it'd be a good asset. Where do you think he'd land best?
Honestly, if you're the Indiana Pacers and you've got a winning record at the moment, I'm not sure. He's having a career year. He's got career highs in points, rebounds, and I think he's having a career high in blocks. He's becoming a really valuable asset. So I think the Pacers, it's shifted more in favour of the Pacers now. They can ask for so much more back for him because he's playing well. He's a really good defensive centre who shoots threes. I could imagine that he would probably want to go to maybe the Clippers because I think you'd have a little bit more
seeing
success.
How the Lakers have been playing.
Yeah. I think if I was him and I was picking between those two, I'd probably think maybe go there. But the Clippers are a little bit strapped. They don't have too many assets. The one they'd probably give up is Zubac, but he's been playing brilliant for them, so I'm not sure whether they'd want to part ways with him. So I'm not sure where he's going to go, but I could see the Pacers just keeping him, to be honest, because he's playing brilliantly.
Another player who's rumoured to be moved is Gordon Hayward. His value has dropped tremendously over the years, hasn't it?
Guess who he's linked with?
Probably the Celtics.
No, Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, that's fine. I thought you were going to say
No.
Celtics, and I was going to be gutted.
No, I don't really want him at Dallas. I think his contract's really high. We'd have to give up quite a few pieces to get him, and I'm just not. I think I'd like him at Dallas just on a significantly less contract where he's not eating up as much of the budget. But I think he's good.
Michael Jordan just doesn't build good teams, does he?
Well, they had to overpay to get him, otherwise he wasn't going to go to Charlotte anyway. But I just think since that horrible injury he had with the Celtics all them years ago, it was one of the most horrible injuries I've ever seen a player go through. Fair play to him for coming back and even being able to carry on playing again. But he's just
not been the same.
He's no, and it's so really hard to say that about him because it's not his fault that he had that injury and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't want him at Dallas at the moment personally.
So another player mentioned this week was John Collins.
Mm-hmm.
I like him for the Hawks. I think he plays really well. But as you said, his role's diminished each year as they've improved as a team. So maybe he's needed a bit less. Maybe he finds he's not going to get his minutes the same. Or
the coaching change a few years ago, it felt like they changed the style of play. And he's not a bad player by any means. He just doesn't seem to fit the team the same as he once did. And I don't think with having Murray and Trae Young on the same team as well, his touches every year has gone down. His minutes per game are dropping. His shots per game are dropping. So I think they're maybe just dangling that carrot to see what they can get for him because he's really good. I think
he's been rumoured a few years in a row though, so surely that doesn't do good for trade value as well.
No, yeah, I think sometimes it can be a little bit of both, can't it? Like if we get the name out there, buzz up enough interest, sometimes you get into a bidding war, but you do also wonder as well, if he's been on the trade market for 3 years and no one snapped him up, then he's obviously not worth it. But yeah, so that was one that was noted this week as well. And a final couple of names as well. Bojan Bogdanovic at the Pistons, as I said, in some of the earlier episodes we've recorded, I was really surprised he didn't sign with a contender this year because he is just a flat-out scorer and three-point shooter, and as an option, just as a corner three-point shooter, he's brilliant. And the Philadelphia 76ers were maybe linked at looking at moving Tobias Harris. Bit of a strange one because it felt like they were all in on him a few years ago, but I suppose it would be looking at what they get back for him and things. So yeah, this week in particular, although there's not been any trades, it definitely seems like the rumour mill's starting to move a bit more, and
it's heating up, and I think it'll heat up around Christmas as well. Moving into the February time will be where you see teams line up the assets to actually pull the trigger on this.
You see it, don't you, where we get to this point in the season where we're like 20% in now, teams are now able to sit back and look at where they are and go, right, we're either underperforming, we really need to get someone, or, you know what, we're a bit of a surprise, we maybe need to get someone in we could do something this year. So this is where you do start to see some names. I always feel as well, this is very much a domino effect. It's everybody's waiting for that first trade. Like all the other GMs are like, well, I don't know what the value is, let's see what someone else does first. So I feel like once one notable trade goes down, that's when you kind of see the influx for the rest, don't you? So
to finish the news part of the show, we're going to cover the Kevin Durant infamous interview of Bleacher Report, I believe it was.
Bleacher Report, yeah.
Yeah, where he criticised his teammates. And to quote him, it is, look at our starting lineup: Edmund, Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Claxton, and me. It's no disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group?
Great for team chemistry.
Like, sum that up in one word.
Bad.
No, it's classless. Completely classless to me. Like, and that's just the way I think about Kyrie Irving and them. The way they go about stuff, I just think I feel for Joe Tsai. I really do. Like, he must regret buying the Brooklyn. Oh, not even regret buying the Brooklyn Nets. Like, backing the truck of money up to Kevin Durant to get him there, and then to get that fool Kyrie Irving as well. Then he's posting pictures. It was always written on the cards because he's got a Nets basketball as a kid. You've not shown any more lack of ambition for that franchise.
I think what the owner regrets is giving them so much power so early on, because when you relinquish so much of you pick your coach, you pick the players, blah, 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 you quickly find yourself in a situation where you're the owner and you still have power, but ultimately the players are running it all, aren't they? And they, like, I always think, I was trying to say it from both perspectives. We get on players when it feels like they're not open and honest, and they give like public relations answers, and it's like almost like being drummed up as like what to say. Kevin Durant's done the opposite here. I just feel like he's gone so far the other way. You can say...
What I have a problem with, and I've had a problem with LeBron in the past for the little cryptic tweets and everything else about
like
Kevin Love.
The small stuff,
Go and say it to your teammates.
Yeah, that's my point. So saying that in this quote here, look at the starting lineup: Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Claxton, me. No disrespect, but what are you expecting from this group? You can say the exact same message, but you don't have to name call them. You can say, look, as a team right now, we're not playing well enough. We need to improve. We need to defend better. We need to move the ball better. Right now, with the group we've got, we're not playing to our potential.
How can you expect them to want to support you?
No, that's my point. Like,
when you next start.
No, if you're any of those players that and it's not a fact that he's gone the roster's poo or anything like that. He's name checked players and in the start. So how do you rock up to train the next day going, "All right, mate. So you don't think I'm good enough to help you win? No, okay. Well, are you going to leave then, or are you going to get me traded?"
The problems with that team is for the Brooklyn Nets is Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Kyrie is more
they
of
would probably function. Do you know when we said over the Celtics years ago they played better without Kyrie?
Yeah.
They would probably do that without them too. They won't win as much because Kevin Durant, he won't have the scorer, but you would probably, someone else would take them shots.
Yeah. But they traded everybody away to get them.
Yeah. So
I just think...
you're now stuck without him, but my point is, like, they just drag the teams down far more than they contribute. And the thing with Kevin Durant is saying, I just want to hoop, and everyone makes out like he's this really insightful person but just want to keep it to basketball, but you don't, because you want to make all the decisions when it suits you, and as soon as it goes wrong you want to be out the spotlight and go, oh, everyone leave me alone. You don't know anything about basketball. But you'll probably share something on social media about music or a movie that you like. Well, you have no right to criticise that.
Yeah, so it works. It works both ways. I just think like this. I know you like some.
Got a lucky escape.
Yeah,
I've always called them team temperamental and improved year on year, and the fact Vegas makes them the odds-on favourite or whatever they announced in the pre-season when we're looking at this stuff.
You're always looking at that stuff on paper, aren't you? You're looking at names.
But what paper are they looking at?
The one that's been printed backwards, I guess. But ultimately, I just think it's such a silly thing to do. You don't need to come out and do this, because ultimately everybody knows the Nets, they're not playing well. There's a lot going on and off the court and things like that. And ultimately, for the time that they've had KD and Kyrie, they've underperformed. That when they got together, they weren't expecting to be competing for the top 8.
Isn't it about like when LeBron tweets about a player who he's like really high and they get traded?
Yeah.
Well, like, this is even worse.
Oh yeah, you're just pretty much shopping these players. Like, well, we're not good enough.
How disingenuous do you want to be towards someone, like in the case of what LeBron does? But in this, it's just slapping them in the face.
Maybe this is just a bit of a way of Kevin Durant.
And he'll probably walk in there and pretend to be everyone's best mate, and that's the problem.
He may do, hopefully not. I mean, I'm sure.
And if he doesn't, and it's the other way to where he doesn't speak to anyone, that's just as bad as well. So either way, you can't win in that situation.
You'd like to think that obviously the players are going to be relatively professional about it and go, right, he said what he said. Let's just crack on. Let's see where we get. Let's just carry on playing. But
you can't expect the team to mesh. And that's not Kevin Durant. For everyone to stick up for Kevin Durant and say, well, that's their fault if they can't look past it. No, you shouldn't have went out and said it in the first place.
I agree.
Incredibly unprofessional.
It's a bad decision, I think, and ultimately it makes Kevin Durant look a little...
I think his trade value's going down a lot as well.
Kevin Durant,
in my opinion, I wouldn't touch him.
I think at the moment, like, because
it's not on someone's ability. Russell Westbrook's got a great ability to score if you put him on the right team. Doesn't mean you're going to win anything.
No.
If you go and put Kevin Durant on a team, for example, the Trailblazers, right? Mm-hmm. And Damian Lillard gets injured, he'll do the same thing. He'll probably moan they had nothing around him. Potentially.
I just think it's looking bad for Kevin Durant, because obviously there's always been that narrative about...
because he's going to start to age.
Yeah,
He's probably going to wish he had a better ending to his career than what it's looking like. You know, surely he should look at someone like Westbrook and think, I don't want to get to a point of where I'm not even wanted on the team.
Yeah. It is starting to look a little bit like spoiled brat behaviour, isn't it, unfortunately, where they've asked for everything, they've gotten everything they wanted, it's not worked, and now it's kind of like blaming everybody else. And to be fair to Kevin Durant, his play on the court this year has been really good. Like, statistically, he's playing very well, and he has won games for the Nets, not to take that part away from him. But this is just something really... really daft, really silly. I'm not sure, when you're saying this as a professional, what are you expecting to happen next? Are you expecting Royce O'Neal to come in the next day and just be all-star level? Because players can't just make themselves significantly better overnight. It takes time. He did. He had a triple-double and a game winner. So, but yeah, it's just it's one of those, unfortunately, for the league to do, for the Nets to deal with. Sorry, and not a fun time if you're a Nets fan to have to read this every week.
So to finish things on a more positive note, we're going to look at the Rookie of the Week candidates. We had 5 this week. We had Jaden Ivey, Benedict Maturin, Keegan Murray, Shaden Sharp and Jalen Williams. But Scott, who did we go with?
We've gone with Jalen Williams this week, Oklahoma City Thunder. They got off to a 2-2 week, didn't they? They played very well this week. And here's an individual. I think he's performing really well at the moment.
So Jalen Williams' stats for the week, he had 29.3 minutes a game. He had 12 points a game. 4 rebounds a game, 3.8 assists a game. He was 52% from the field, which is phenomenal, and he's 40% from free.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. His role has increased again. Like the Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously they're not a team that's expected to win anything, but this week his role's changed a little bit. He's played a little bit more. He's been super efficient. 52% from the field and 40 from 3 is not something he's going to do for the rest of the year, but just as a
but it's good for the week and it's out to get 2 wins. So
yeah, he's been a key part of it. Obviously, the big name is always Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but arguably he's been probably their second best player this week. So Jalen Williams, congratulations, Rookie of the Week for Basketball Talk. So the final part of it, again, as always, picking our player of the week. We've gone with Joel Embiid this week from the Philadelphia 76ers. The team record was 2-1 this week. What are you thinking about Joel Embiid this week, Ryan?
To say phenomenal, because we say phenomenal, amazing, and that's every 2 minutes. But like he's played out this world, hasn't he? With 41 points a game, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks a game is a massive contribution as well. 1.7 steals for for a centre is very rare, really. Field goal 53, 33 from 3-point range as well. 84 from the free throw line is phenomenal. We were looking at this like, what do you value more? The team record overall, based off some of the others we've picked out as well. But yeah, I think Joel Embiid's the one this week. I think he's easily the player of the week.
He had a fantastic performance start the week off, didn't he? 59 and 11, and again, back to back since then, a few more 30-point games and things like that. Just absolutely fantastic play from him. And I feel so harsh having to always talk about his health and things like that, because he is quite clearly one of the very best two-way players.
And he's going to be spoke about more in the coming seasons, because as he gets older, he's going to age, and it's just going to be one of them things. It's going
to be a theme for his career, isn't it, unfortunately?
It's sad, obviously, that the past few years when he really could have used someone else, he's probably carried that load a bit too much, which also hasn't helped contribute with them injuries. So
arguably, to me, that's what makes it stand out this week. No James Harden. Yeah. And he still put up these numbers. He's going into every game this last week where teams are like, we really need to hone on Joel Embiid. We can't let him get off and get too many shots and things like that. But he's absolutely dominated. He's been fantastic. So Joel Embiid,
hopefully his injury isn't too severe, and we
hopefully
see him continue this into next week. He might be the first person to get it 2 weeks in a row.
Back to back, that would be impressive. So yeah, Joel Embiid, congratulations.
You might not be an MVP, but you might have 2 Basketball Talk Player of the Week if you keep trying.
Who doesn't want that? It's arguably more valuable than an MVP, to be honest. So who were the other candidates that we were looking at as well this week?
Yeah, so we had some other contenders. We had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Domantas Sabonis. We had OG Anunoby, Tyrese Haliburton.
I think you could have made a case for any of them, couldn't you, really? I think we and you had a little bit of a debate of what do we value more, solely individual stats or teams that have gone 3-0. If it was going with a player that went 3-0, I think it would have been a battle of Sabonis versus Haliburton. But when we were looking at solely it's a player of the week and what he's done, I think it made sense to go with Joel Embiid. But that's no disrespect to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, OG Anunoby, Sabonis or Haliburton. I think any 4 of them could have made it this week. But we went with Joel Embiid. So yeah, a great week and some great contenders for it.
And that's all for today. Join us next time for some more basketball talk. Please like, share, subscribe, give your thoughts, pass it on. Do it all, rise like the Kings or the Utah Jazz, and we'll see you next week.